one fix, one refactoring, and one fix that registration related actions should always be accessible, even if the access frontend is not available. And that makes the last change for beta 3. So this will be the official build for beta 3. Sorry, beta 3. For 1.10.3. So we have the release page which has been updated after this change. Okay, this is the one. This is the same URL last week. This is the file. And it's funny because I was changing the announcement page when Benedict told me that we should wait for this fix, so I waited. I will update that this afternoon. The announcement page, change the link on the front end, and the announcement page being the little frame you see when you go in the admin, showing the latest version available. Are correct here, so it's all good. And I assume this one will be marked as release by unchecking that. Beautiful. That's it for Orchard 1, Orchard Core. Yes, we had a meeting last week. No, this is the week before that I missed. Okay, so 7 days ago we were there. What did we do? Let me check if I can first. Check out dev, and I'll look at the PRs after that. Okay, so 7 days ago, what has been merged? Fix openid certificates on Azure App Service. There might be some flags necessary for the certificate, so now there is an attempt to use the standard flags, then to use the Azure ones. Then fixing NRE on CMS recipe. Because the changes I made on the layer filter, since the login pages are on the front end, the layer filter is looking for the theme, but there might be no theme at all for the front end if you use a decoupled CMS. So this will have failed. So now this is just null, and that will just prevent a null ref. In this case, so selected theme will be null, won't be equal to admin theme, and will go on. Fix the issue of workflow recipe. An issue with the workflow recipe. Siaman is using Raffles a lot and fixing lots of issues. Use flexbox for content alignment on content picker, so nicer content picker, and a text when there are no result. Allows to get more applications, module file info. Because some files were not served from the main web app. An example was, let me see, not Razor Pages. Can't remember. There was a file type that was not served on the web app. Don't remember, but this one fixes it. ARA submitted the issue. Improving functional tests log. Just that. Yeah, how jest renders the log was weird, so I changed that. And also it will try to write some log after the test has completed because of how it was done, so now it's fixed. Update SQL, a fix from cmand, because in the workflow module apparently you could trigger some invalid states, or there could be an exception when you store a workflow, and in this case SQL will be in an invalid state and you could not recover from that. So he fixed that in SQL directly, so I updated SQL with that. So that's it for all the committed changes. Then what's still to be done in PRs? In PRs I can go, yeah, every branch here is a PR. This one should have been deleted. That's okay. So if I go and look, pull request, 37 pull requests. Lots of them are waiting for beta 3, so we can then merge them. But for now I don't want to take any risk to bake beta 3, so I'm very strict in terms of what we merge. Like all of them which are under that, they won't get merged right now because it's too risky. Updating fluid, a UI for page size, fix wrong language label on this. So I will open that just to show you what's happening. Some of them will be merged because they're blocking. So fixed wrong language label on this repository. GitHub can detect the language that a project is using, a repository is using, and in this case we don't want to include JavaScript that we didn't write. So what this PR is doing is just telling GitHub ignore the www file / scripts folder, don't count them, which is right and wrong because we do have scripts that we generate and minify in this folder, the ones that we wrote, but at the same time they are also available in the assets folder usually. So this is not totally right. Sometimes we also need to exclude some other folders like assets / whatever, bootstrap or things like this, but that's not wrong either. So this one can go in. Fixing loading async for non-parts from Bertrand. The issue being that in this file here, what we were doing on the loading event was just trying to get a part as a content part, which it is not. Well, it's a content part, but even an auto route part will be casted as a content part, which is wrong because then the events that are called will check that the type is auto route part or list part and so on, or price part. So the change was just to do the same thing as what every other handler is doing, which is asking the activator to return the correct type like this. And that's done this way here. And that's all that has to be done. This handler though is different in the way that the LoadAsync will generate the part if it's not already included in the content item. So it will instantiate the parts automatically when the content item is loaded. Same thing for the fields. And this is fine because this is for the dynamic part. Is it? Maybe not. Get content part type part definition that name. Yes, it is. The name of the type, the content, the dynamic content part of the type. That's fine. Good. And this could be cached actually. But that's the other PR. So that's a fix for loading async calls to be correctly handled. And I also refactored this code because this we can, with a single expression, we can get the typed part and then just either return the task or return a completed task. We don't have to async await that. So this one will go in because it's fixing a bug, and it should not be risky. I tried it. Well, there's a risk, but I tried it. Fact section to FAQ section to docs. FAQ, interesting. Well. Well. So there is FAQ, and there is things that are interesting to document. This is very interesting to document. Is it a frequently asked question? I'm not sure. I was thinking maybe we should have a section. So you create a section, you call it FAQ. Good. Shouldn't we have a bucket section like articles or tutorials, and then just have something called running tasks on application startup, or whatever we know how to do, and or like creating a LoadAsync query, or I don't know, or creating content from the REST API, and then like these things that people want examples of, like cookbook tutorials, and just tutorials about doing different things that we can't really organize in a nice talk, or could be later in nice talk, but stuff that there is no section right now in terms of regular API documentation like we do today per module. I have an example. Guides, they call that guides. I think, where is that? You see here they call it guides in Spring Boot, and they have lots of different kind of articles. They are not organized in the talk, but lots of things that are interesting to understand, and with step-by-step explanations on how it works and how to use that, creating asynchronous methods, accessing data with MongoDB, serving web content with Spring MVC. They are completely unrelated, but they are nice little articles with code and everything that show you how to do things. And it's super useful, and because there is a search engine, we can find something. As long as it's in the documentation, then we can use the search engine to find it. Same thing in mkdocs. So maybe instead of calling it FAQ, we could call it, let's say, guides or articles or whatever, but guides is nice. Flat list, and then the search engine will help. We can still have an FAQ. Cookbook. Cookbook. How-tos. Yeah, how-tos, guys, I like it. Prefer that than cookbook. But you see what I mean? And I understand why you call it fact, because you believe that we needed a new section to put stuff that are not in the current talk right now. So right now you made FAQ. Yeah, so call it guides or how-tos, and then that the rest is completely fine. Don't forget the usings also, because people won't find the usings. So provide examples that are completely usable, that people can copy-paste and use it directly. That's a very good example, using logging. Backticks around method names. The startup file of the module, and not the module startup. And that's good. And then, yeah, when we have stuff to explain, we can always create an article here. Make sense? Nobody says anything, so I assume everyone agrees. But a lot of work to do. Okay, we can change it directly in the PR also if we want. Okay, if you don't have time, I'll change that directly. It's not hard changes in this case. You did well, for this PR at least you did most of things. Then for the next stuff, yes, there are many more things to do. Good, nice, Matthias, thank you. Reusing the same part instance because Bertrand also found an issue. The issue with the LoadAsync PR that we saw earlier is that when you create a custom handler and implement the LoadAsync method, you might want to change some data on the parts of a content item. But then later on, when you get a new event like publish or publishing or whatever, creating, then the part you get doesn't have the data you changed earlier, because for every handler, the get method was instantiating a new part every time. So unless you had changed the JObject source, then you will get a new instance of the part, which is bad for the reason that I explained and also for performance. So this PR fixes it by, in the content element class, adding an internal dictionary that is a cache, an identity map of all the sub-content elements that have been created on it. So whenever a get method is called like this here, so when you call get here on a content element, so on a content item, when you do get a part, it will look into the internal elements if it has one. If it has it, it returns it. Otherwise, it will check in the JObject, get the data, create the part, and save it as the elements thing. Okay, and same thing for the other get or create. The other get or create will try to get it first and then assign it locally to cache it. And this one is weld, which is also, no, it's not weld. This one, it's weld, which when we weld a part, we add it with its name to the list of elements. Okay, so it fixes two issues. So that's good. And I tried to see if it was improving perf, but I didn't find anything. But technically, it is improving at least allocations. Fix bug workflow JavaScript WorkflowScriptEvaluator from Siamand. Apparently an issue here. If it's empty expression trim equals string empty, it's called string.is null or empty. So we'll do that. Suggestion, where is the suggestion here? Here. Suggestion, if is null or white space. What's the name of the method? Is null or white space. Okay, that's it. Setting liquid encodings explicitly. So we arrive to the fact that on milestone beta 3 we have 3 open issues. I didn't tag the caching the same part as a beta 3 issue, but we might try it. I talked to Bertrand about that to see if we really need to have it in their branch for beta 3. So 3 issues: PluralFormNotFoundException. The repro was easy. The repro was just to set the Russian language.
Hey, I'm here.
Hello. I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to say what you think about having the change in beta 3?
Yeah. Well, I've already integrated the changes into my module.
Okay.
It works. It
Good.
fixes my issues. So.
Then we'll take the risk, and
if it's considered too risky, I would understand. But
If we have people to try their website, that's fine. But yeah, I tried with the flow part and changing all the flow part because that's the thing that might be an issue, like the things that handle parts dynamically and everything. All the tests pass. We don't have a huge coverage either, but all the recipes completed and work and render something. So that should be fine.
Yeah, I also had a workaround previously. So if you end up not integrating it, that's not a huge deal. I would obviously prefer if you did, but
are you using? Will you use dev after beta 3 ship?
Yeah.
Then we can say as soon as it's shipped, we can merge it.
Okay.
We have 10 PRs.
That's fine by me. Yeah.
The loaded async I will. It's also risky, but it's an issue. It doesn't work. So
yeah, that's a bug, not a new feature. So yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So plural form not found if you set Russian as your default language, which I never did. Russian has many plural forms, at least 5. How much does it say? Yeah, at least more than 2. I don't remember. And if you go to the content items page where we use pluralization for the date time, like 10 minutes ago, we have 2 in English, but we have more. And the current localization code will throw an exception if you ask for a value that is more than 2 in this case. Because for this specific number, it will look for the third plural form, but there is none here. It will throw an exception. In this case, what I change is to use the latest plural form in this case and log a warning, saying, okay, I could not find a translation for this thing, but instead of failing, I will use the highest form because I could not find more of them, and use this language, so the default language. This is what we do by default when, let's say, same thing, I take the first form, okay, 1 minute ago, but there is no translation for Russian or any language, so we take the default value, which is this one. So we should behave the same way. If we can't find the plural form, we should take the closest one to the one we think makes sense. In this case, the latest. So it's either the first, as by default, or the latest if we can't find the plural form. And it fixes the exception. At least it doesn't break anything. It might be wrongly translated, but if they want it to be correctly translated, then they can just provide the correct forms for this translation. So that's the PR. Putting for beta 3. This one PR also. Workflow JSON template should not be encoded. I triaged it this morning. Well, there were 2 issues identical in 2 days because of the same Chinese issues. Let me show you. So this one, I don't know where he got the code, but I see, or maybe they had to do that to decode the thing. The issue being, if in a workflow you inject something that is, for instance, Chinese or HTML encoded, then, well, it has to be encoded in HTML, Unicode chars like this. The issue is that the liquid template engine in this case for workflow was using the default encoding, which is HTML in Orchard. And in that case, that's bad because it's JSON. We don't have to encode everything in HTML. So in this case, the workflow will create a content item with Chinese chars, which will then be encoded. So the JSON will contain HTML encoded values in their strings, which is wrong. And that's why they had to decode the HTML. So this issue, we had the same in Lucene 2 weeks ago, which we fixed by changing the default encoding. Same thing for SQL queries. So what I did, I reviewed all the usage of liquid. Here for every component, and defined explicitly which encoding we need to use and not use a default from Orchard. So, for instance, alias part is not encoded. So when we generate the alias part, we are not encoding anything. We store whatever is generated. If we want to encode something in the alias part, it's up to us to do that. Auto route, same thing, not encoded at all. if we generate Chinese charts, there will be Chinese charts. If we want to HTML encode or whatever encoding we want to use, we will do that explicitly. Workflows are usually JSON documents in this case. So the workflow expression is a JSON document or a JavaScript document. So every injected value will be JavaScript encoded. So it's later on, but this one is different. I will show you. Where is that? Workflow, this one. Liquid Workflow Expression Evaluator. It was using HTML. This is the issue that we saw earlier. Now it will use a JavaScript encoder. And I will show you some examples on how it works. If I go up again, what component? The HTML body part will be HTML encoded because it generates HTML. So any value from the outside should be automatically HTML encoded. If you don't want it, then you will use the pipe pro. Like in Razor, you just say no, opt out from the encoding, but the default is HTML. Lucene will be JavaScript encoded. So last week we changed it to be not encoded, but now I'm saying no, we will JavaScript encode everything. And if you don't want to be encoded, you will just use pipe pro. So Lucene queries from the admin controller and from the query source. Markdown will be HTML encoded for the field and for the part. SQL will not be encoded because we have parameters in SQL that we should use, and we don't have a SQL encoder. Then which one is that? Templates are HTML encoded. Workflow is JavaScript encoded. So the ID, and I have a running version here. It works. Am I on the correct branch? Plural encodings. Play. And by the way, you might have seen, I will show you the example I'm using. It will be super clear. Okay, so if I go in the admin, I will start by editing a blog post, which is a markdown blog post. So blog, this one. So here I will say preview. Good. No, that's not what I want to do. This, okay, so I'm going there. So here, when I do foo, it works. Then I will do foo. Okay, this is some liquid injected, so this is encoded into foo. There is no change here. But if I do, this, if I type some HTML in Markdown, it's fine. It's HTML. Okay, so what is encoded is just the parts that are injected, the output statements. Whatever text it is here, it will be the Markdown. Fine. But if I put an HR here, because it's HTML encoded, it will be HR/. Okay, it's encoded. So we are not injecting. So if this value is coming from the outside, like request dot query dot a parameter first, then this will be safe. Okay, by default this will be safe because this will be HTML encoded. You can't inject scripts or whatever because of that. So in this case, that's how you do that. So whatever you have will be HTML encoded to be safe. And if you say, no, I really want to inject some HTML, then you just say pipe raw. And in this case, you can see the HR, which is injected here. Okay, that's how it works. So if you trust the source and you know it has to be HTML, then you can say pipe raw. Or there is also a tag like this. Okay, and n raw. I haven't tried it in a while, so let's see. Oh yes, sure, because now it's outputting everything, and you see I have the HR. Okay, so that's fine. So this is the same encoding by default HTML encoding for the body part, body field, markdown field. So this is good. Now the interesting thing which triggered the issue is the workflows. I will edit this workflow. So this workflow is a webhook on a get, and when the webhook is hit, I'm creating some content. And this activity accepts some JavaScript or JSON. So in this case, I'm returning an object, display text, and here I'm injecting request query display text property of the query string, the first element. A reminder that this thing is an array of values, so we want the first element. So request query display text, and this can be any string. So what they could do is inject some custom JSON document, custom text that will, let's say, contain a double quote to close the current thing, and then also, I don't know, author, and change the name of the author, okay? Because you can inject JSON in this particular part. But because we use the JavaScript encoder by default for this parsing now, what will happen is that whatever you type here will be JSON encoded. So if there is a double quote, it will be quoted. So if I save that, or I don't change it actually, I will go to the URL that lets me trigger the workflow. I will copy it, and I know that it will accept a display text property that where I can type foo %22, which is a quote bar, enter, and I will type the URL of the site. That will be better. Enter. I got a response 200, but no message. That's fine. That's what I wanted. And if I go to content items, I get foo quote bar. Okay. It didn't break my JSON. My JSON was valid. It was just escaped inside a JSON with a backslash double quote, and it works. I can pass whatever I want in the title. Okay, so that's how you make things safe. What we used to recommend before this change was to actually go, let me show you, it's the same thing in Lucene. If I edit and I change that, we used to say, instead of doing that, remove the quotes, and that will still work, but we have to do something else. You can pipe to JSON. Piping JSON will encode the content and put double quotes around the value. So that's why we don't need the double quotes here. But if we do that, because it's JavaScript encoded, it will encode the double quote. So what we want to say is, okay, JSON encoded everything, added double quote, so it's a safe JSON part, so we can do raw. And then it will also work the same way. Okay. It's easier and more readable to say that. Okay, so very nice little task to create a content item. I also changed the sample to not use the title part because it's not the case, it's not the way it's used anymore, just display text. So when you create a new content task, it will say display text and enter title here. Okay. So that is for everything that is encoded now explicitly. It's not relying on the default encoder, which was HTML. Then I think that's it for the issue, so I will merge these PRs, they pass all the tests, and beta 3 will be ready. We are shipping 1.10.3 today, and we can ship beta 3 next week if we don't find, again, a blocking issue, but right now it's safer and safer, because we have to, less and less issues that we have to fix. These ones were created last week. This one actually 23 days ago. It's just I got a repro last week for that. Questions? No questions? That's good. Topics? What am I missing? Release? We talk about more documentation, that's good. Okay, everything's good then. No new sites, no social activity, nothing special. So we are done if you don't have any more questions. Localization, I see. Jean quelque chose. Jean-Philippe, Jean-Paul, Jean-Patrick? I can't remember, sorry. Jean-Philippe was working on localization, and we got a contributor who did that, but we don't have any news from him. He said he will create a PR, and we don't have any PR. So Jean-Philippe is blocked. Localization. It's kind of sad. We were about to create the modules, and he just said that he had already something ready, but he hasn't answered since then. So sad. So Jean-Philippe was asking, should we start doing it even without his work? Tempted to say yes, but I pinged him yesterday. We'll see if he answers. Let's give him some more time to answer. Maybe he's busy, that's fine. It will be sad to have to redo everything. Yeah. Okay. Well. Good then. Last message. Good. Perfect. See you on Thursday for the triage, and next week for next meeting. And I don't know, when does Europe switch back to summertime? This Sunday?
March 31st. In 3 weeks.
Okay, wow. Okay, so earlier for Europe again next week. Thanks everyone. See you on Thursday or next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.